Ocho Cinco.
Hello and welcome to episode Ocho Cinco of the Points the Points Hijack Hacked podcast of Dots, Lines, and Destinations. Episode 84 will not be heard from because our esteemed colleague is at the IATA conference. He's trying to leave One World.
Negotiating a One World exit. Precisely.
We are coming live from the Javits Center in New York City, so you may hear some bus engines similar to the sounds at my house. It's Mr. Foz Mahmood and Mr. Rolando Veloso, and we are going to do an express episode.
We finally figured out Rolo actually lives at Javits, which is why we hear all those noises every episode.
Yes, the broom closet at Javits Center.
But yet you didn't know about the business lounge.
Well, I did not know because I was on the other side.
You live on the north side?
I live on the north side.
Okay.
Well, since you talk about the business lounge, where is the business lounge, and how do you get access to it?
It is on the southern edge of the Expo Hall, on the intersection of 11th and 34th. And if you have an American Express business card with the open logo, you can get in.
That's great. And today we made use of it, and we were going to record from there until somebody barged in our private room and decided to go on a conference call.
I know. So much for membership has its privileges.
In other Amex news, though, the Miami lounge opened up. It was last week.
It was last week?
Yeah. Have you had a chance to go to Miami lately?
No, I was with you I've been traveling with you for the last week. So if you haven't been there, I haven't been there.
That's right. And where did we go, Fonz?
We ended up in Dubai.
Okay, and how did you get there?
I flew EK Emirates via Houston. And it was a pretty nice flight. I thought the service was a little off. I was in business. But it was, all in all, it was pretty impressive. It's a solid product. Walking into Dubai Terminal 3, I felt like I walked through an airport designed by Caesar's Palace.
So wait, what was it that made it a little off? Because I hear a lot of comments on Emirates where people are like, well, the crew was just okay. I mean, I think even Seth mentioned it on one of his flights in first, that he had issues where the crew wasn't as great or it wasn't as hyped up as it was. I mean, what was your issue?
It was just the finer things. Like, very often there was the lack of water at my seat. So one of the nice things that when I initially sat down, they've got that little beverage area where they just have all sorts of beverages in there, like a water, sparkling water, some soda. But apparently they don't restock it. So once you drink it, you're out.
Oh, the little mini bar that comes in the seat? Okay, but you can't ask for more? They won't give you any more?
And when I asked for new beverages, they weren't restocking that. They would just give it to me in a glass, which is fine. But when you're on a red-eye flight, when you're sleeping and you get up at some point, you just want to drink water, you're not in a position to ask.
Okay, what about did you go to the back bar?
I did go to the back bar. Okay. That was definitely an amazing experience, and more airplanes should have it.
Okay.
I did not get a photo of myself bartending, unfortunately.
That was a couple years ago for the World Cup in 2010. When I was flying first, I went to the bar and, they let me make drinks.
Now, did FIFA have to bribe Emirates for you to for that photo op?
I think it was a bribery for me to be able to go and operate the bar.
Okay.
So I don't know if on my next flight they're going to be letting me, but actually in about a week, not even a couple days from when the episode comes out, I'll be on an Emirates flight, possibly bartending.
Yes, Dubai twice in a week.
Well, let's talk about the first Dubai trip. So I was there before you.
Yes.
I took United, by the way, which was great in F, and you get Marhaba access. Apparently.
How did you end up in F? Did you purchase this after?
No, there was operational.
An op-up?
Yes. Because I guess business class was sold out, or they needed my seat. I don't know. I was in a row of 4 by myself. They might have needed to sit people together.
So your general member status is...
General member status has its privileges.
Now, are you saying United First is on par with the broom closet?
It is close. No, actually, it was really good. The only thing I did not realize that you have to look for the little mattress they have. I thought they got rid of it. It was just stuffed in one of the compartments in the F seat, and it was the 777, ex-United plane with F. And I still hate that you have to put on that funny seatbelt, like
the 3-point harness.
Yeah, the 3-point harness. But anyways, you met me in Dubai, and what did you think about Dubai? That was your first time, right?
Dubai was amazing. I mean, it was overly extravagant. Reminded me a lot of Vegas, except much more refined and much classier.
Well, I tend to tell people that as well. Like when you go to, if everybody's like, oh, what's Dubai like? I said, imagine Vegas, but without the casinos. Everything's just huge, and like you said, everything looks closer than it is. So when we try to walk,
yeah, well, crossing that one street, it looks like it's right there. Yeah, 20 minutes later, you're still not there.
Would you go back to Dubai?
Oh, of course, absolutely.
Just not in summer, or it wasn't that hot.
Honestly, the temperature was 107, 105,
109 and dusty.
But it really didn't feel 107, 105, or 109. Like I felt it was cooler there than 98 and humid here.
Okay, yeah, it's a dry heat.
It's a dry heat.
Yeah, it's a dry heat.
It's like stepping into an oven.
Well, that's what everybody says. It's like when you open the oven, like it's warm and it just heat comes out.
But it's not like the swamp ass
Right.
in Houston, where you get that wall of humidity as you get off the jetway.
Well, too bad Steven's not here to comment on his, as he was a Houston long-time resident.
They went through a huge heat wave in Portland this last week.
Oh, really?
They were having 90-degree temperatures, which is rare for up there.
Wow. Well, what the hipsters must have been...
Who knows? They're hiding in underground caves somewhere.
All right.
Maybe that's why we haven't heard from Steven.
Exactly. That's why he could not record. He has no reception in his underground cave. All right, let's talk about something that came out yesterday. Well, a few days ago from when the episode will be published.
Yes.
It was a bad day for airline stocks yesterday. Or Tuesday, let's say.
Tuesday, because it's
Monday.
Monday. It started on Friday with American getting downgraded. And then it triggered downgrades of both United and Delta also. And the American downgrade was cited, the analysts are fearing the impact Southwest is going to have in Dallas and how Americans going to actually have to suffer or really struggle to maintain their business footprint in Dallas.
Now, do you think this is going to be... the airlines are still making money. So Delta, yesterday, analysts were saying Delta stock is cheap. They're buying back stock. So I don't think that this is an alarming thing. I mean, in the end, we're not going to see lower fares anyways.
Oh, we're never going to see lower fares. But, making money is relative, right? The airlines are making a lot of money right now because oil is so cheap. Oil may or may not stay that cheap. In the short-term view, it will. But in the longer-term view, it likely will not.
But Delta has their own oil, so they don't care.
No, they have their own refinery, not their own oil. They still have to get the oil from somewhere.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting, and with all the tar sand, not refineries, but mining operations for oil being suspended right now. When oil goes back up, it'll take time for those to spin back up into production.
Okay. So we're potentially looking at...
I think it'll be... look, the airlines over the last 10 years have bottomed out and come back. Like, I bought American Airlines at, I think, $3 a share. I bought United at 12, and I bought Delta at 5. And they're all much, much higher than that right now. But that wasn't the first time they've gone that low in the last 10, 14 years.
Yeah, I just think that the management teams on these airlines are running things a little bit different. So they kind of... I don't think we'll ever see... Well, I can't say ever, but you're going to see these stock prices go down to those levels.
You don't know. But some of the things that the airlines are doing now, they're going to start getting the attention of regulators. Look at what Delta and Lufthansa are doing, cutting out the distribution channels and minimizing. They're trying to minimize their cost structure. And they're basically making it harder for consumers to shop.
Now, are you talking about the airlines wanting to charge travel agents to distribution fee, or what exactly?
So Delta's been actively going after online travel agencies and having them pull and say you don't have authority to use our data. So there have been a number of sites over the last year and a half, 2 years that they've pulled their content from. So it's harder for shoppers to comparison shop.
But isn't that contract between the provider and the airlines, so like Amadeus or those kind of...
I don't understand all the details. You would think yes, but I guess Delta has the authority to further limit who cannot use the data.
Well, was it AA that had a problem with Expedia or Orbitz not so long ago?
They did, and they settled that. But it doesn't look like Delta's budging. And then last week, Lufty announced that they're going to start adding a surcharge to agency-issued tickets.
And how much is the surcharge?
I believe it's €20.
Oh, wow. So already travel agencies are going, having hard times selling tickets because there aren't really any commissions. They don't really get discounts, so...
But, let's look at the GDS level. Let's take a step back from the travel agencies. The GDSs are a multi-billion-dollar industry. Where are they making all this money? There has to be a huge markup somewhere in the structure.
Well, but they charge on the supply side and they charge on not consumer but the business side. So there's a fee for integration or there's a monthly surcharge. To get those channels you're paying for that data. So if you're the travel company, the GDS is making money on either you paid them up front to connect to them or you're paying either per transaction or a monthly fee.
Right. And I understand all that, but billions and billions of dollars, right? These GDSs couldn't sustain that kind of... Think of the overhead that's introducing to the end consumer. The GDSs wouldn't be... at some point that had to fail for them, right? That's not a gravy train that'll last forever.
Right. I guess, we'll have to see what these airlines do, and as always, what the other airlines will do. As United, will they start doing this?
Well, if Delta's doing it, it's only a matter of time before United does it.
So let's talk for a minute about where Seth is right now. We kind of joked around. Why couldn't he join our show today?
He is at the IATA conference in Miami right now.
And what do they do at the IATA conference? Do they decide on new airport codes, or?
Well, they do that, and they define policy for the industry as well. And there's some big thing about finances this year. I don't know the details, but I'm sure Seth can fill us all in on this.
Maybe he could do episode 84 and fill in all the blanks.
He could.
Because...
He could. And then our discussion of this has been completely irrelevant.
And it could be completely wrong. But that's the beauty. We could always delete this episode, and then the new official 85 episode would be with actual information.
So if you hear a different episode number in a different voice, that means it's been edited.
Oh, we've been cut from the roster.
We've been cut.
But in all seriousness, I think a lot of the talk coming out of that conference is that QR or Qatar or Qatar, as our esteemed colleague would say, is really just making waves about leaving OneWorld. They're upset, I guess, with American Airlines. They said they were invited by American, and there's...
Exactly. So, I think one of the topics is definitely going to be this whole subsidy allegation that the U.S. airlines are making, and to a lesser extent the European airlines. But, it'll be interesting. So this morning, the CEO of Qatar announced that they're considering leaving OneWorld because American, who invited them, as you said, is now going after them, and without the open skies agreements that are in place, they can't succeed.
Did they also complain that they have too many plane types?
No. They have far fewer plane types than the U.S. carriers.
Well, just Qatar in general. Don't they have every single plane type?
Right, but they only have one of each kind, not like 9 varieties of 757s.
Well, like when we looked at the American magazine yesterday and I showed you the graphic, it's like 3 pages of planes between U.S. Air and the American plane. I think at this conference, they're, is it every year? Is it a yearly thing?
I believe it is, yes.
Yeah. What is... Besides what is the official role of IATA? Like, is it just for the airline? Is it the standards? Like, what do they actually use?
It is the governing body of the airline.
Do they set anything, like, regarding fare rules, or who sets those rules?
The fare rules are all done by the airlines. You've got, is it ATPCO, the Airline Tariff Publishing Company, which actually publishes all the fare rules into the GDSs. And I don't know if they still are, but they were formed by the airlines, so they might still be owned by the airlines.
Okay.
But they do all the publication of the fares, so they're responsible for the distribution channel for getting the fares.
But IATA tells you how you have to structure it, correct?
IATA is more policy.
Okay.
But the fare rules all come from the airlines. Like, AA will do NPM routings on international, whereas United will have explicit routings defined.
Right.
Right.
Do you think they talk about the mistake fares at all, or is that a topic?
I'm sure that is, particularly when it comes to the finance aspect.
Right.
Because one of the things they do mediate is how the airlines pay each other and how they manage that process.
What about the currency exchange bugs or features?
I don't think anybody wants to talk about that anymore.
Another interesting announcement that, I don't know if it's related to IATA, but there's a buzz about American announcing a new route.
Yes, apparently they're going to start flying LA to Sydney.
And has this been confirmed? It could be confirmed by the time this episode airs.
It's supposed to announce at 4 p.m. on Tuesday, Eastern Time.
So we're kind of predicting the future.
Yes, my magic 8 ball says so.
Any idea what kind of plane they would have? We could speculate what they're going to use.
The only plane they have that can do it is a 77W.
Okay. Which is actually, would at least they be able to sell first class and compete with a pretty good product since we got to try it.
It's a nice product. I don't know if Qantas is better or not, but I don't have 30,000 one-pass miles to use for that.
Well, that's no longer valid anyway. The Qantas first product I've never been on in F on the 380 or the old the 74s have the old F, I believe. I don't know that they ever upgraded the first class on the 74s.
Maybe Emirates forced them to as part of their partnership.
Quite possibly.
Yes.
But I think, I even asked you to check. I said, well, how many Qantas flights are there going to be? And you looked into this just briefly.
Yeah, it looks like out of LAX, there's 2 Sydney flights. Only one is a 380. There's a Melbourne flight and a Brisbane flight.
Are those 380s?
Nope, they're all 74s.
So the A380 parking zone at LAX is no longer a Qantas?
No, it looks like it's just one.
Wow. Yeah, when we came into LA the other day, we didn't really see it. We came in on the other side, so we couldn't see any of of that. Because it used to be one sector where they're parked, and there was like 4 A380s, Qantas A380s at LAX. Huh, that's interesting. I haven't been to Australia in a while, and if we're looking for seats, for award seats, and I even mentioned to you this in a lounge, and we don't know for sure if American, you can book inside 24 hours for a Qantas flight.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting experiment.
And then, especially with this new flight, if it'll help you get reward seats. Although I really want to try the Dallas-Sydney flight.
That would be a cool line. Everybody flies LA-Sydney.
Yeah, it's what? Does Delta still fly?
Delta flies it. Virgin.
Is it Virgin Australia or
Australia
Australia
flies it. United flies it. American will be flying it. Qantas flies it.
Do you think there's just that much demand, or are we now getting to just a point of like ridiculousness?
There clearly must be some amount of demand. Now, the thing for American, and what we don't know is Qantas may drop or shrink one of their flights when American introduces this, because it is being jointly marketed with American. So that is a wild card. I know Delta struggled on that route for a long time, but I think they finally got it to work. But it'll be interesting.
Any idea when this would start?
I do not know that.
Okay. I would say, in the next 6 to 8 months, maybe?
I would imagine before the northern winter to take advantage of the southern summer.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Well, we'll see. Maybe we can get on that flight.
Yeah.
And since we just did the American first flight, do you have any thoughts about the product? I mean, did you do the old F in American at all?
No, I've never done the old F. Because we did both BA first and American first, BA first was definitely nicer. No doubt. The service, I have to say, even for a 4 a.m. departure, was amazing.
On BA?
On BA.
Well, it was a scheduled 1:45, and I think we left after 4 a.m.
We left at about 4:35, almost 3 hours late. So.
Yeah, they did have a full service, full meal service.
Full service. And right before landing, can I get you something? I'm like, can I get some tea? Like, absolutely. Like, no hesitations, whereas I'm generally used to the American carriers. Well, we just cleaned up, or, yeah, let me see what I can do.
I did notice, though, that you got to sleep and then have your meal later on American. I didn't think that was possible.
I did ask about that, and they said it was available. Unfortunately, because I had waited so long, it did not survive too well.
Oh, okay. But you got to sleep, so...
I did get to sleep, and that was nice.
We forgot to mention this, but in our part of our Dubai trip, we kind of got a little sneak peek, or not a little insider's look into the Emirates flight training process, let's say. What did you think of the things you learned? I mean, Emirates does a lot of interesting things.
I might have to start flying Emirates coach. That's what I learned. Some of those new recruits are rather attractive and pleasant on the eyes.
And they're very nice to talk to in person.
They are very nice. And they're fun to party with. Not that I would know.
Anywho, but as far as the company itself, I mean, what they do during the training,
I think it is an amazingly well-structured company. It is well-managed. I mean, we saw some of the tools they're using internally. It amazes me the level of complexity they have and the amount of information that even the lowest employee has. I think, the U.S. airlines are complaining about the Middle East airlines, and the reality is they're much more nimble because they're much newer and they have a lot less of the historical baggage.
Well, the first thing is that all new Emirates flight attendants are given a 3-year contract, and then they're either renewed or not renewed after 3 years. So that's the first. I mean, that's the first issue right there. I mean, it's like apples and oranges. You can't really compare it. But as far as like the training program and even the innovation and what they do, we learn about their housing, the transportation options. I mean, it's just like
everything's
efficient. It's such an efficient operation. It's like the equivalent of getting a scholarship to a school university. Like you're going essentially to play a sport, and that's what they do. They move you around, they feed you, they do everything, and you just have to work, which is like playing a sport. That's the thing.
I mean, the reality is the bane of the U.S. airline industry's baggage is labor, and that has been a sore spot for all the airlines, and they all go back and forth, and that's their weak spot.
Right. Now, it would be interesting to talk to people from other Middle Eastern carriers to see if they have similar setups as far as, how they run things. I mean, I know that Emirates is probably the best one out of them to work for. Etihad might be second, and then Qatar might be third as far as like how strict they are and even employee benefits.
I think Qatar might actually be second.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I've heard personally from people, somebody that was going to switch from Delta to Qatar, and they were like, you get nothing essentially. Like as far as like employee pass and very, very strict. On Emirates, I think they get 30 days vacation per year. I forgot what the situation with the employee passes are, but I could find out when I go back.
Yes.
And we'll get more info. I was always the Emirates correspondent here, so
you're our Middle East correspondent. Now you have to do some Etihad.
Oh, okay. We also have quickly upcoming changes to the SPG card, possibly.
Well, the big one that I've heard of is they're dropping the foreign exchange fees, which I think is huge because then I can use that card internationally.
Which you currently don't use because it's still a 3% fee, right?
Exactly. So I've been using other cards with no Forex fees, so I think that'll be huge because I can put my Starwood International spend on the card.
That's the thing. Whenever you go to a hotel and that card's on file, you have to change it. Sometimes it's like, they kind of look at you funny.
Exactly.
But yeah, have you gotten your new card with a chip yet or no?
No.
Okay, I have not either.
Chip and pin.
I think Stevens has, but we're not sure. We'll have to ask him. And then another credit card tidbit is not the regular Amex Gold, right?
The Rewards Plus Gold, I believe. I don't know if it's all the gold cards, but the Rewards Plus Gold definitely is introducing a airline credit fee like the Platinum card. It'll only be $100, but it's still $100.
Yeah, it's funny when I look at my statement sometimes I didn't realize, I made a change or something and it's like credited. And then but it's once a year, so I'm guessing it's the same concept. You think you have to enroll? Don't you have to set your airline?
I imagine you would, but I have to go check. The feature just got released last week, I believe.
Oh, okay. Oh, I don't have the gold card anymore, so I wouldn't really know. Well, we're gonna have to cut this episode short because we have some meetings to get to.
Yes, very important meetings.
Very important meetings. Why don't you tell us where they can find you?
I'm on Twitter as Fazem.
And you don't blog, so you're...
I completely give up on the blog, so we're not even going to promote that anymore.
I wish I had a video. His face. He just stopped. And I'm on Twitter at Mundo Surfer, and I'm still on Tumblr at mundosurfer.tumblr.com.
Wait, I'm on Tumblr as not Mundo Surfer.
Wait, really?
Yes.
Well, you have to post stuff. And where can we find our podcast?
Moredotmorelines.com.
Okay, and our Twitter? It'll have to be dubbed.
Please insert Twitter handle here.
All right, everybody, have a good week, and we will hopefully hear from Seth soon.